Grading every NFL team's offseason going by division. Today, we have the final division of the entire league, the NFC West. I did every single division. If you want to check out your favorite team, if they're not in the NFC West, then go make sure to check out that video. If you enjoy sports content, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to all the YouTube things, because we are going nonstop, filming nonstop videos up until the NFL season. Nonstop except for last week. I didn't post last week because my parents were into town, so I am sorry. I took an unexpected vacation, I guess. I didn't expect to not film. I just didn't end up happening. So now we're back. We are going to be posting every single week, at least once a week, if not multiple times a week, up until the NFL season, where we will definitely be posting multiple times a week. And then as the season goes away, we'll probably go into like Christmas, start posting about hockey and basketball as well, because those are two sports I love. I don't really think I have the time to fit them into my filming schedule right now, but I do want to, and I think Christmas is probably roughly the best time for that to start. It's also when those seasons start to really kick off anyway as well. So that's what I plan on. Subscribe if you enjoy that kind of stuff. As of this, let's go ahead and start with the AFC West. And we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. Like always, we're going to start with coaches. But before we start with coaches, actually, I just want to bring up this point because I just saw that I accidentally left this tab open. I make fantasy football content. If you enjoy fantasy football content, make sure to not leave a like, make sure to subscribe to my Zealous fantasy page. This is a draft guide that I've been working on. It's going to be in a website, I'm pretty sure, down the line, but right now it's just in the Google Sheets. Anyway, if you enjoy fantasy football content, you want to win your fantasy leagues this year, make sure to subscribe to Zealous Fantasy. Anyway, let's move this over to my second screen because I'm conceited and like to see myself. All right. So on to this offseason moves. We're talking about the Arizona Cardinals. I said that out loud to fix it in my own brain and get back on track. Like I say, we always start with the coaches, and we're going to start with the firing of Jonathan Gannon, Andrew Pitzing, and they bring in Mike LaFleur. I almost said the wrong guy there. Mike, not Matt LaFleur, and offensive coordinator be Nathaniel Hackett. A lot to get into there, honestly. Jonathan Gannon, very good defensive mind, very good defensive coordinator. Turns out, not a great head coach. And honestly, I remember when he got hired, I remember that being a thing of like, off the bat, you're like, ooh, is this guy really that good of a leader? Like, it didn't seem that way. Turns out he's not. As far as the head guy, Drew Petzing was never very good as an offensive coordinator. Nothing felt innovative. Nothing felt fresh from this team. I truly still believe in the talent that is Marvin Harrison Jr. I just think there was no creativity from this offense to really let him turn into the talent that he should be. Now the question is, can Mike LaFleur do it? Because I don't think Nathaniel Hackett can. So can Mike LaFleur do it? Is he calling the plays? I'm sure that's been answered, actually. I should have checked that before this. I'm pretty sure he is. That's why I started that sentence, but I should have confirmed before starting this video. That's on me. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure he is. I'd like to think, and I really do hope, that they are able to do something for Marvin Harrison Jr. I really hope this is an upgrade. I don't know if it's going to be much of a downgrade. I don't know. Like, Gannon wasn't horrible, but I don't know how much. It's hard because I keep wanting to say I don't know how much worse you can get. Gannon wasn't that bad, but at the same time, what did the Cardinals do with him? I mean, a lot of people hate on Cliff Kingsbury. They did way more with Cliff than they did with Jonathan Gannon. So can they get much worse? I don't know. Anyway, I don't love the Mike LaFleur hiring, to be totally honest with you. But with what they had, they were one of the last teams to hire a coach. With what they had, I do feel like he was one of the better options, considering Clint Kubiak hadn't yet signed with the Raiders, but it was pretty apparent he was going to. I spent a lot of time just on this one team's coach. So let's get a move on. They do a lot, clearly. You can see the additions here. They add to this offensive line in a few different spots. They bring in Tyler Algier, which becomes a head scratcher later in this offseason. They bring Gardner Minshew, and I remember thinking, like, okay, like they're going to have Gardner start for them this year? Nope. Jacoby Brissett is back-ish, kind of. He wants a new contract, so that's a whole big thing. And you know what? Fair. Try to get your payday. You're the starting quarterback. Try to get starting quarterback money one last time. That's fair move by him, in my opinion. I don't think it's smart. In fact, if I'm Arizona, I would just tell him, all right, we'll just go with Gardner then. Like, who cares? But fair by him. Fair play by him. Try to get what you're worth. I don't hate that. Um, as you can see, there's not a whole lot to talk about. This is a team that I felt had a very good offseason last year. I felt they had a very good offseason, and there's a few times where I feel like I'm going to be doing this throughout this season as we get closer to the NFL season, probably around August. I'm going to start giving my predictions for the season. And a couple times last year when I did this, by the way, you might look at my channel and say, oh, you didn't post last year. Short form stuff, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts. Make sure to check me out on all those. I'm on all of them. I remember grading a lot of teams very highly on the offseason and then looking at the team and the schedule going into the next year and going, oh, they're still not there yet. That's what I did with this team. I thought, okay, they did pretty good. Jonathan Gannon's supposed to be really good defensive mind. This defense should be figured out, and then they can move forward. That's not what happened. Clearly, one of the worst defenses in football, and once that happens, when you're a defensive mind, you're out. That's just how it is. This offseason, though, I'm the opposite. I'm not saying they're going to do good, but I don't really like this offseason. There's just not a whole lot to talk about. There's not a whole lot to really get from it either way. I'm not even mad at it, to be honest with you. You get rid of Kyler Murray. It was time. You had to. Evan Brown, gone. Okay. Jalen Thompson. I mean, okay, you're one of the worst defenses. I like Jalen Thompson. I think he's good, but it's time to start over, start fresh. So I keep going down this list. It's the same for all of them. Okay, whatever. It's just nothing to grab onto. And again, I'm talking losses. I'm talking additions. Re-signing Sean Murphy-Bunting's nice, especially for $3 million. Obviously, he's not what he used to be, but he's an okay player still at this point. There's just not a lot to talk about, man. I knew I wasn't going to have much to talk about, but I always try to say I try to do these as authentically as possible. So I try to go in with less than I probably should just to try to make it authentic. And doing that, man, I just lost of words for how little was done here. You better hope Mike LaFleur is the guy. I don't even know how fair it is to grade him off this next season. With the current team, and this is your additions, I guess what you should be grading him off of, and this is what we're going to talk about, the draft, Jeremiah Love, and then Marvin Harrison Jr., can he get those guys going? Obviously, those two guys are supremely talented. Even Michael Wilson, very good. Can those guys get going statistically and just produce? Can they produce anything? Even if it doesn't produce wins, can they just produce anything? That is probably what he's going to be graded on because that's really all he has to go off of. There's not much here. I kind of hate to skip over Jeremiah Love like that, but we talked about him. I've said before on my fantasy page, I'm not a big fan of Jeremiah Love this year, but long term, I think Jeremiah Love is fantastic. I feel like there's a lot of options you could have gone with Arizona at this third pick. They just decided to go with best player available, which I don't hate. When you're this bad, draft whatever. The issue is I think they might be so far off by the time you are good. Where's Jeremiah Love in his career? With running backs, shorter careers, that's something you actually have to think about. I'm not going to spend much more time on this, man. I'm going to give him a C, maybe a C minus. There's just not the. I guess okay, you could maybe go up to a C plus. I'll say C plus because they get Jeremiah Love. C, we'll go C because again the additions. There's nothing to talk about, but neither with the losses. Like, what are we doing? It's just a nothing burger, a waste of time, and a waste of a season for the Arizona Cardinals, which their fans should be used to by now. Anyway, let's talk about the not waste of a season, not waste of a time, but instead one of the most insane off seasons in recent memory in the LA Rams. I remember when I did the Cleveland Browns, I was like, oh my God, I forgot to include the Myles Garrett trade. Guess who still didn't do it? I think I just do that. So it's happening before your very eyes. Myles Garrett. All right. So Myles Garrett is traded to the LA Rams. They start with coaches. bring in a new offensive coordinator to replace Mike LaFleur, who, of course, again, went to the Cardinals. Anyway, so Myles Garrett is here to be the savior of this team. Oh, misclicked. To be the savior of this team. And I think there's a very good chance that he's going to do exactly that. Let's start from the beginning. Before the free agency really even started, before the offseason really even started, they trade for Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie and give him an absolute bag. Then they then start the offseason by getting the other Chiefs cornerback, Jalen Watson. An issue that they had last year's passing yards allowed per game, 19th. Passing touchdowns allowed, 19th. Everything else, very good. Those were by far their two weakest categories. Well, how do you fix that? You go out there and you get two very good corners to come play for you. Well, what if that's not enough? What if part of the problem is a guy like Jared Verse he was applying pressure, but he wasn't getting to the quarterback and sacking him? What if you need more pressure up front? Let's just go get Myles Garrett too. That's exactly what happened here. It's absolutely insane. Again, one of the more crazy off seasons I've ever seen from a team. Just the star power that's coming over. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to put into words how good when you're in a situation to win now, and I always talk about this. When you're in a situation to win now, so many teams are so scared to pull the trigger. The Saints did it back in the day, and I just made a video not that long talking about it, and I think I mentioned in it, and if I didn't, I meant to, so it's a perfect time to talk about it right now. When the Saints, I talk trash a lot about the Saints and how they've handled offseason after offseason after offseason. But to be clear, that's after Breeze retired. When they had Breeze and they're like, F it, we're going all in to try to win one with Breeze. By all means, yes, that's what you should be doing. Right now, the Rams have Stafford. Yes, that's what you should be doing. Going all in, getting superstars, F them picks, let's go win. And that's just exactly what they did. Again, the Saints, the reason I bring them up is I trash on them a lot. It's what they did after Drew Brees. Instead of just saying all right, time to rebuild, they just kept going and going and going. And it was too much, and it was dumb then. It's dumb now. Saints finally are in a spot where they are not redeemed, but able to actually function as a franchise, and it's 5+ years later. That's how bad of a decision it was to keep going. My point is, right here, right now, where the Rams are, they should be going for it. They should be going all in. This offseason is exactly what it should have looked like for a team that got so close last year, that did so good last year. This is what it should look like. Going all in, and just putting the best possible team forward that you can. That's exactly what they did. The one downside, I guess, in all this is Ty Simpson. And it's not because they drafted a quarterback. A lot of people have a problem that they just drafted a quarterback in general. That's not my problem. Because their philosophy makes sense. They were willing to make the Myles Garrett trade because they drafted Ty Simpson. And now they don't have to worry about the quarterback of the future because in their heads, they have the quarterback of the future. So we good. We're willing to trade these first-round picks now. Issue is, I don't think they got the quarterback of the future. I've never been a big Ty Simpson fan. When I watched his college tape, there's throws where you're like, oh, wow. Good anticipation sometimes. And then, especially as the season went on, I get he was banged up, but I just wasn't impressed. I remember watching the games live, just not impressed with Ty Simpson. And it hit a point where I just kind of was like, you know what? Day 2 pick. I see tools. I see potential. Maybe he could be a day 2 pick. The Rams, being in this situation where they needed to take a guy to go all in, went ahead and took him in round 1. I don't love that. I think they're probably one of, if not the only team that was willing to do that. And that's just where we're at. Again, that's my real only negative about it. It's not that they did the quarterback. It's just who they got. And to be clear, when they weren't going to get Fernando, I just think they shouldn't have done it. Regardless, everything else I really like about this offseason. I'm not going to spend too much time left on it. I think this defense improves tremendously. As you can see, it was an average defense, top 10-ish in rushing categories, but closer to 20-ish in passing categories. I think we'll see it a lot closer to top 10 up and up this season. I mean, and then this offense, I think we'll see take a step back because they're not going to have to be explosive because of how good the defense is. I think, but they'll end up being a top 10 unit on both sides of the ball and should be right here, right now, the favorites to win the Super Bowl. We'll just have to see if that actually comes to fruition. And really, the only thing I can see hindering this is a Matthew Stafford injury, but I mean, he's been injured quite a lot in his career, so it is possible. With that said, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Again, we start with coaches. Robert Saleh, DC, out. He is the new head coach for the Tennessee Titans. They bring in Raheem Morris, the former head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. I've said before, I am a Kirk Cousins fan. I watched Atlanta very closely for the past couple of years because of that. I hated Raheem Morris, the head coach. Let me also be clear, I didn't think Kirk Cousins was great, by the way. I just like the dude. I'm not trying to sit here and defend it and say Morris sucks, Kirk's awesome. Not what I'm trying to say here at this point in his career. I just thought, outside of my love for Kirk, Raheem Morris sucked as a head coach. One thing I can give him, though, is year one, the whole team sucked. Year two, that defense started to come alive. And you don't know if that was him plus the new DC or if it was him mostly, but we've seen him as a DC before, and he's very good at it. So I am very pro him as a defensive coordinator, especially when you lose Robert Saleh to bring in a guy like Raheem Morris. It's pretty good. I do think it's a slight downgrade, but as slight as it possibly can be. That's very good. As far as additions go, they bring in Mike Evans. I was going to say huge, but it's huge in the name value category. How much is that helping them win in the playoffs, which where it matters, I think actually does help them. Over the course of the season, I think he's going to miss a few games. He's just obviously not as good as he once was. I still don't love this receiving core. I wish there would be more to it. It's just Mike Evans at this point and Ricky Pearsall is the main two. Obviously, you now have Christian Kirk, who did solid when he filled in for the Texans the last season. If Brandon Ayuk could get anything figured out, that would be that. I changed my opinion a little bit, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see Brandon Ayuk even play football again. So that's not even something I want to mention. I still don't love the receiving core, but there's no way Mike Evans is going to hurt you, especially for $14 million a year. And I think in this situation, he probably ends up being a solid positive to this team. Again, you also add in Dre Greenlaw, who's very past his prime, but still a really solid guy to have. And linebacker Osa Odigizua from the Cowboys is very, very good. I saw the trade coming from a mile away because of the money they had tied up in the position for Dallas, and he's very good. I think he's going to fit this team very well. He also didn't fit the new scheme that the Dallas Cowboys are going to start running soon, or not soon, this season. I was smart trade, I think. I think the Cowboys honestly didn't get enough for him. Odigizua was very good. That's probably my favorite move the Cowboys, the Niners made this entire offseason. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I do really want to mention, though, Nate Hobbs. I really like him. Never stays healthy, but when he is healthy, he's very good. I really like Nate Hobbs. Trent Williams is back another 4 years, supposedly. I don't think he's going to be back for 4 years, but supposedly he's back for 4 years. $25 million. He's still one of the best tackles in the league, but let's just say he played 4 years. They'd really be regretting it at that point. But again, I don't think they're going to have to worry about it. You lose a lot of good depth. No one crazy. No one you're hurting for, but you do lose a lot of key depth. A lot of it to Robert Saleh, actually not a lot of it, just a couple. And then you didn't even have a first-round pick in the draft. I do like height from Texas Tech. I've mentioned before, I believe I'm from Texas, not a Cowboy fan. To clear up for the ODU stuff, I'm not a Cowboy fan, Viking fan, but I am from Texas and I am a Texas Tech fan. And height is very, very good for a third round pick. Let me be clear. I don't think he's going to come in and take the league by storm, but for a third round pick, I think that's very good value for him. Really, the name of the game for the Niners this year is, can Brock Purdy stay healthy? And so far, not so good. You also have Mac Jones, which is very important in my opinion. There's a lot of talk about him getting traded away. If I was Niners, you would have to give me a ton. I'm talking at minimum a second or higher, because I can't, when you have Brock Purdy, who's been injured a few times in his career now, not as much as last season. Last season is by far the most, but he had been nicked and banged up here and there. I just can't risk. I need a good, solid backup quarterback. And so, yeah, I would have took a lot to get rid of him. Thankfully for them, they don't get rid of him. They keep him. Name of the game is keep Brock Purdy healthy and keep Christian McCaffrey healthy. The Niners will go as those two go as far as health. I'm confident when they're on the field, they'll be fine. Just as far as health goes, that's all that matters, which is hard for San Fran. They seem to be the most injured team every single season. So, yeah, as far as this offseason goes, not much to grade here, honestly. A lot of older guys. A lot of older guys. I don't know if they're close enough to be adding all these older guys and really make a big difference. I love the Odigizua. Love that. I mean, that's all I feel. We're going with C+. I can't really give them much more than that. I do think there's a lot of good moves made, Mike Evans, Greenlaw, but I don't think they're, again, if this was a team that was super close, that I felt was super close, and I'm sure Niner fans believe you're super close, and if you believe the Niners are super close, this is a really good offseason. The reason I'm giving them a C+ is because I didn't believe before this offseason this team was super close, so these moves are marginal in my opinion, but if you're super close, marginal moves make the difference. I just don't think they're that close. I think this team will do good. They'll be better than they were last year. Make the playoffs probably, if without really doing in-depth research on it and looking into it like I will when I do my predictions. Gut reaction says probably make the playoffs, but I mean, I could see them being a first-round exit. I could not see them winning a game, but I could see them being a first-round exit, maybe a second. And that's just how I feel. Nothing marginally different, so therefore they get a C+. And finally, we're going to talk about these Super Bowl champions. Funny enough, Super Bowl champions, reigning champs, and this is the last team I'm talking about. This is the last offseason I'm grading for the season. Crazy how many videos I've made. I almost didn't even make this one, to be totally honest, because they hadn't done great, but I still love to do it. I love to talk about it. I've said before, I really like going in depth on things, and we'll do that more going forward. It's hard to go in depth when you're talking about every single team's offseason and you're trying to go through a little faster. But yeah, I just enjoy picking topics and just narrowing in on it, and we'll start doing that soon. Starting with next week, we're going to be talking about the teams that are best suited to go from worst to first in their divisions. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. That's going to be next week, I believe. Maybe late this week, but I think I'm saving it for next week, to be honest with you. But just watch out for it. Anyway, we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks here. Clint Kubiak is gone. That's a tough blow, man. Clint Kubiak was a guy who really made me eat my own words. He was in Minnesota very, very early on. That was his first coordinator gig, and I liked him and then kind of didn't like him. I was just iffy on him. And then he went to New Orleans, and truthfully, I think he got overhyped. I remember when he got signed to New Orleans, a lot of people were, oh, he's going to fix this team, and I strongly felt he wouldn't, and therefore I kind of hated on him more than I even felt like he should have been hated on because of it. And then I was kind of right. So then he went to Seattle, and I was really down on it because I was kind of right about being down on him in New Orleans, and he completely shut me up now. Very good offense coordinator, really tough blow for the Seattle Seahawks. I think, of course, we're going to talk about additions. We always do, but I think the thing to talk about here, and to really give them the credit they deserve is the re-signed / extended category. Extending Jackson Smith and Jigba was very important that they did it. They did it. Bringing back Rashid Shaheed was very important. They got it done. There's just a lot of guys that are really important to the depth of this team that just won a Super Bowl, and they were able to bring them back. That's worth praise of some sort. You lose a ton, though. Tariq Woolen for not even that expensive, gone. Kenneth Walker, gone. Boye Mafe, gone. Kobe Bryant, gone. I could just read this list. You can also just read it. A lot of good and depth players gone from this team. And of course, you can see the additions. There's not much there. They didn't do a great job of replacing a lot of it. Zach Charbonnet obviously tore his ACL very, very late into the season, into the playoffs, actually. He's gone for, I'd say, probably half the year, if I had to guess. And Kenneth Walker walks out the door. You're going to be stuck with Emmanuel Wilson, and Jadarian Price, your first-round pick. That's tough at the running back position for a team that ran the ball so well last year. You have to wonder how that's going to affect a guy like Sam Darnold. More is going to be on his shoulders. I felt he played okay. As a Viking fan, there was a little bit of me, to be totally honest with you, because of how it ended in Minnesota, that just thought like, oh, he was just like a one-year wonder. He's not going to do it again. And I would argue to an extent it's true. I firmly believe he played better in Minnesota for the majority of the season than he did in Seattle. The thing that was different, though, was in Seattle, he just didn't make any more mistakes, specifically when it mattered most. And that's all that matters. When you're on a team so good like Seattle was, all that matters is you don't make the big mistakes. And he just avoided those mistakes, so good on him. And the question is now, though, with more on his plate, at least at the beginning of the season, can he do it again? I think, and maybe I'm crazy, I think it might be a popular hot take to say Seattle's not even going to make the playoffs this year. And to be clear, I'm saying not that people are going to predict it, but people who are fishing for hot takes are going to predict that. I do think that's going to be a popular thing because of all the things that they lost and they didn't bring in much. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, although in a division like this, I could see it. And maybe, again, come prediction time, I am the guy saying that. But I'm definitely wouldn't say it out of chasing a hot take. I just think people who do chase hot takes will say it. It's really hard to grade this offseason because you bring back the most important thing that you had to do this offseason was re-sign Jackson Smith and Jigba. You do it. But losing Tariq Woolen is really hard. Kenneth Walker, I expected before they even won a Super Bowl, I expected Kenneth Walker to be gone. A lot of these good to depth pieces on defense, when you win a Super Bowl, you're going to lose guys like that. That's just how it works. The draft was solid. I'm not head over heels over it, but I do think there are a lot of solid pieces from this draft. Yeah, it's hard to grade coming off a Super Bowl. You lose a lot of depth, but you also do a good job of keeping a lot of depth. You don't bring anybody in really. I've already said this, but it's just really hard to grade. I'm gonna hit them with a C+. I could have gone lower, I think, but I think again you did the most important thing, and that's keep Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe it's a little harsh because it's not your fault you lost Clint Kubiak. He went to go become a head coach. You can't avoid that. That's not really your fault. So maybe it's a little harsh of a grade, but I'm going to stick with it. Tariq Woolen was such a value deal. I think you got to find a way to keep him, restructure, do what you got to do to keep him for that number. If that's a possibility, maybe that was more of an FU to Seattle for not re-signing him. I don't know. It's hard for me to say, but from my chair sitting here, I'm going to say for that number, you got to do what you can to bring him back. So yeah, that is how I'm grading the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to stick with a C plus. And with that said, we have now graded every single team in the entire NFL's offseason. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things. Again, we're going to be posting at least once a week up until the NFL season. And once the NFL season starts, we'll definitely be into posting twice a week, recapping weeks that just happened and predicting the weeks ahead while talking about every single thing that happens in between. Yeah, I love football. I can't wait for it. Again, if you like fantasy football, subscribe to my Zealous fantasy page where I will help you win your fantasy leagues. I'm probably going to make a Discord for it soon. Probably should have made it already, but whatever. Haven't made it yet. If you made it to this part of the video, I love you. You're insane. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.